in Africa in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Je répète ça vite fait en français. Le thème cette année sera l'intégration de l'assurance dans le contexte de la zone de libre-échange continentale africaine. Pour la traduction, l'anglais sera sur la chaîne 1 et pour le français, la chaîne 2. Without further ado, let me invite the chair of the local organizing committee and chairperson of ASAR, Madame Annie Nibishaka, for her welcoming remarks.
Bonjour, good morning everyone. His Excellency Dr. Uziel Ndagijimana, Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Diplomatic Corps, President and Executive Members of the African Insurance Organization, CEOs of insurance companies in Rwanda, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Mwaramutse. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to our country, the land of 1,000 hills, for the 25th AIO, African Reinsurance Forum. On behalf of all members of the Rwandan Insurers Association, the government of Rwanda, it is our honor to host this forum in partnership with the African Insurance Organization under the leadership of Mr. Top Smart. And we extend our appreciation to all of you for accepting our invitation. Over the years, Rwanda insurance sector has grown. To give you a synopsis, Rwanda Insurance counts 2 public insurers and 12 private insurers. Private insurance serves the policyholders through a network of 914 insurance agents, 14 insurance brokers, 1 licensed insurance broker, and 18 loss adjusters. Public insurers dominate the insurance sector. However, in terms of assets, the two public general insurance remained dominant, with an asset size equivalent to 63% of total assets and 43% of gross written premium of the insurance sector. On the other hand, private insurers held 37% of the total asset and 57% of gross written premium. The insurance business is dominated by a non-life insurance, representing 88% of gross written premium. Among private insurers, general insurance represents 78% of gross written premiums. Life insurance, also provided by 3 insurers, local insurers, they represent 12% of the total sector premium and 20% of private insurers' gross written premium. Insurers heavily depend on the motor and medical insurance production, which accounts for 63% of the total private insurers' premium. Property represents 11%, guarantee 4%, engineering 4%, and accident and health 2%, liability 2%, transportation 1%, and non-life insurance products representing 6%. As per June this year, private insurers have recorded higher growth in assets than the public insurers, and the synopsis demonstrates that Rwanda has a robust insurance market with more opportunities to offer. While we are sitting on the birthplace of the African Continental Free Trade Areas, we are happy to contribute to the conversation on the integration of insurance in achieving an African Continental Free Trade Areas. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by thanking the African Insurance Organization and Mr. Top Smart for selecting Rwanda as a destination for this forum, and a great appreciation to our government for the tremendous support they have provided in organizing this forum. I wish you all a warm stay in Kigali, and I hope you will enjoy this forum session and the networking activities in Kigali or outside Kigali. Thank you very much for your participation. Welcome in Rwanda. Bienvenue à Kigali. Murakaza neza.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. And now I'll invite the President of the African Insurance Organization, who's also the Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of NEM Insurance PLC Nigeria, Mr. Tope Smart, for a few words. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, members of the Diplomatic Corps, executive members of AIO, invited guests, delegates, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the African Insurance Organization, I wish to heartily welcome you all to the 25th African Insurance Forum holding here in Kigali, Rwanda, the land of 1,000 hills. The record hospitality of Rwanda makes it always a memorable moment being here. The last time the AIO members converged here in Rwanda was in 2014 for their annual conference and General Assembly. The AIO would like to use this opportunity to thank the government and people of Rwanda for accepting to host our 25th African Reinsurance Forum in the heart of very challenging times. This event could not hold last year due to the ravaging effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. The uncertainty even followed us into 2021, but we are happy the government of Rwanda gave us this opportunity to showcase another of our flagship events. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Just 2 months back, the AIO brought together African insurance professionals at its 47th annual conference, which took place in Lagos, Nigeria, to reflect on rebuilding Africa's economy and insurance perspective. One of the instruments of ensuring a healthy, resilient and robust economy for Africa, no doubt, remains the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, AfCFTA. After deep reflection, the AIO Secretariat thought it wise that we incorporate insurance integration into this agreement. This is why during this 25th African Reinsurance Forum, discussions will center around the theme, insurance integration in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The African Insurance Organization is happy to return to the birthplace of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Kigali, to examine not only how the insurance sector can best integrate into the AfCFTA, but to also provide a conducive venue for the cream of the African insurance industry to reflect on the way forward. Through this event, the AIO wishes to highlight the contribution of the African insurance industry to the realization of this lofty idea, whose benefits to the entire African continent cannot be overemphasized. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement will create the largest free trade area in the world, measured by the number of countries participating. Also, the pact connects 1.3 billion people across 55 countries with a combined gross domestic product valued at $3.4 trillion US, according to the African Union. It has the potential to lift 30 million people out of extreme poverty. But achieving its full potential will depend on putting in place significant policy reforms and trade facilitation measures. In concrete terms, AfCFTA emphasizes the reduction of tariffs and non-tariff barriers and the facilitation of free trade, free movement of people and labor, capital, right of residence, right of establishment, and investment. Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in September this year, the African Insurance Pulse, a research publication of the AIO, carried out an extensive study on the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. In the findings, insurance executives interviewed hope that in the long term, the successful implementation of AfCFTA will benefit all markets. In the short to medium term, however, they expect that the large markets such as South Africa, Morocco, Kenya will benefit most. When asked which insurance players will be the winners, the clear answer with 46% is the African regional insurance reinsurance players such as Africa Re, Sika Re, Sanlam, and Santam. According to the executives, they have a better starting position than all other players because they already have a well-established and tested distribution network across several countries, which will be reinforced with the single market approach. Insurance and reinsurance players that participated in the survey were optimistic about their future in the context of AfCFTA. 75% do not believe the single market will become a threat to their business. Many reinsurers and global and regional insurers confirmed that they already operate under the logic of a single market. Many believe that the insurance pie will grow with a single market, facilitating the expansion beyond their current reach of active markets. Reinsurers that are active primarily in one or a few markets see this as a unique opportunity to diversify their risk portfolio. To get prepared, therefore, 2/3 of interview partners stated that they already reflected the impact of AfCFTA into their strategic planning, while the remaining group is waiting to gain more information on the impact of the free trade on them. Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, ladies and gentlemen, the AIO's goal for setting up the Reinsurance Forum is to encourage the exchange of business through bilateral contacts and discussions which fall in line with the organization's objective of promoting inter-African cooperation and the development of a healthy insurance and reinsurance industry in Africa. Since the inception of the Reinsurance Forum, there has been a lot of exchange of business among African industry players and practitioners, but there is still much room for further deepening of the business exchanges. This 25th Reinsurance Forum, therefore, gives us another golden opportunity to examine some of our inherent challenges facing the African insurance industry. And we are saying that let us use this and do an objective dissection of the theme, insurance integration in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Area. One of Africa's visionary leaders, His Excellency President Paul Kagame of the Republic of Rwanda, once said, and I quote, "In Africa today, we recognize that trade and investment are not aid, are pillars of development." End of quote. The AfCFTA agreement to me is that golden opportunity to make this a reality. I would like to thank all our sponsors for accepting to associate their images to our event. I would like to give honor to whom honor is due by thanking the managements of Africa Re, Name Insurance PLC Nigeria, Sanlam Emerging Markets South Africa, Tan Re Tanzania, National Bank of Rwanda, Namib Re Namibia, Zeb Re Kenya, Tunis Re Tunisia, Continental Re Nigeria, Ghana Re, GN Reinsurance Ghana, SGC Re Gabon, AM Best, Zambia Reinsurance PLC, and AXA Assistance. May I please request that you please give these companies a round of applause. Thank you very much. I wish to announce solemnly that the AIO will be 50 years old next year. Please, let's put our hands together for AIO. It will be 50 next year. And our host and our next host, the Kenya market is working with the AIO Secretariat to make the celebration a memorable one. Let me equally add that I look forward to seeing all of you here so that we can have that celebration in a grand style. Thank you. Our organization needs your support to make the event great. The quality of speakers in this forum leaves me very confident that at the end of this event, we shall be on the right side of history as solution providers for the African insurance industry. I would like to thank them for taking time off their busy schedules to lead the reflections at this event. I would like to recognize them here. Dr. Cornel Karikeze, Group Managing Director and CEO of Africa Re, Mr. Nicholas Monia, Regional Director of Willis Re, Mr. Leslie Ndovu, CEO of Africa Risk Capacity, Mr. Emmanuel Bruli, CEO of Sanlam Pan-African General Insurance, Mr. Sovik Banerjee, the Managing Director of Continental Re Kenya, Mrs. Davina Mileage Uwela, Principal Program Coordinator, Climate Change and Green Growth Development at the African Development Bank, Mr. Kasim Hansa, Group Head Underwriting and Claims, Continental Re, Mr. Jean Amasahe, Head of Non-Property Business, Munich Reinsurance Company of Africa Limited, and Madam Beatrice Chato, Senior Expert, Trade and Services at the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Please, can you please give them another round of applause? These are our speakers and eminent personalities. Words of gratitude go also to the African Development Bank Group and the Secretariat of African Continental Free Trade Area for accepting to be part of this event by providing speakers. We pray that this collaboration continues going forward for the benefit of our beloved African continent. We can never thank enough the government and people of Rwanda, the Insurance Association of Rwanda, the Rwanda Convention Bureau, the National Bank of Rwanda, the AIO Secretariat, and all other stakeholders for this exemplary synergy, whose outcome is this wonderful event that we are all witnesses to. Permit me to please end with the words of the great Pan-Africanist, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And I quote, "It is clear that we must find an African solution to Africa's problems, and that this can only be found in African unity. Divided, we are weak. United, Africa could become one of the greatest forces for good in the world." End of quote. Our hosts have labored so hard to make our stay here quite memorable. Do not therefore hesitate to savor Rwanda's exotic touristic sites as contained in the excursion program. Enjoy Rwanda's stunning scenery, warm and friendly people, as well as its extraordinary biodiversity with incredible wildlife. Honorable Minister, dear delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a very successful deliberations. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, a few housekeeping notes quickly, just to give you a rundown of what will happen here today. We'll have a session which will include a short video and also a presentation, which will be followed by a question and answers moments. You have 4 microphones in the room, so the technical team will help us coordinate that. We're being at the same time that we're here physically, we have an online presence as well. So questions will be asked here in the room and also online. Right after that, we'll have a quick coffee break that will be followed by the second session, which will be followed by a question and answer session, and then lunch. You'll have more information after that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce our guest of honor, let me ask one of our finest exports, traditional cultural group here in Rwanda, to give us 1 minute, and I really mean 1 minute, of what they do best. Thank you.
Rwanda we, Rwanda
Hopefully after the conference that will give you one reason to want to stay a little bit more and witness how rich the Rwandan culture is. All right, now for the keynote address, our guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Planning of the Republic of Rwanda, Dr. Uziel Ndagijimana.
President of the African Insurance Organization, Executive Committee members of the African Insurance Organization, Secretary General of the African Insurance Organization, Chairman and members of Rwanda Insurers Association, captains of financial institutions and other leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. It is a great honor and a pleasure for me to be here with you today at the opening of the 25th edition of the African Insurance Forum of the African Insurance Organization. On behalf of the government of Rwanda, I would like to warmly welcome all delegates, speakers, and participants to Rwanda and to our capital city, Kigali. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the leadership of the African Insurance Organization for having chosen Rwanda as the host of the 25th African Reinsurance Forum, and this is a testimony of a strong partnership and the role the insurance sector is playing in supporting our country's economic transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, the African Insurance Organization was founded in 1972 to support the development of a healthy insurance and reinsurance industry and promote inter-African cooperation in the sector. As we have been reminded, next year the organization will celebrate its 50th anniversary. I hope this could be, again, organized in Rwanda. And if approved, we can start right away the preparation for this event. The African Insurance Forum is an annual event organized by the African Insurance Organization that provides an avenue to meet and network with industry leaders, examine industry challenges and possible solutions. According to the October 2021 edition of the IMF World Economic Outlook, the world economy contracted by 3.1% in 2020, and the sub-Saharan Africa contracted by 1.7%. In this connection, Africa's debt to GDP has also increased from 62% to 73% in 2020, according to the World Bank. The COVID-19 crisis has hit Africa hard, both socially and economically. As we battle with COVID-19 crisis, we need to join the global force to mitigate the impacts of climate change, given that we suffer the most from the impacts of global climate change, although we contribute the least. This situation presents not only challenges, but also opportunities to transform the continent. Hence, Africa needs more resources to finance its economic recovery and its reforms to make the continent more resilient to disasters and climate risks. Kigali is the birthplace of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, and we believe that the establishment of the AfCFTA and its implementation are critical not only for the enhanced resource mobilization on the continent, but also for provision of the necessary impetus for growth, job creation, and economic revitalization, especially as the continent contends with the unprecedented impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has eroded years of hard-won development gains and put at risk the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, the African Agenda 2063, and the climate change commitments. On 1st January 2020, almost all African country members signed the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and so far 30 countries have ratified it. The theme of this forum, insurance integration in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Area, is relevant and timely. It is timely for the African Insurance Organization to return here in Kigali to examine how insurance sector can best integrate into the African Continental Free Trade Area and reflect on the way forward. This forum should therefore focus on the contribution of the African insurance industry to the realization of the AfCFTA agreement. These kind of discussions and reflections are important because the African Continental Free Trade Area will create the largest free trade area in the world, measured by the number of participating countries. The agreement connects over 1.3 billion people across the 55 countries with a combined gross domestic product valued at about 3.4 trillion. According to the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, the African Continental Free Trade Area has the potential to generate combined consumer and business spending of around 6.7 trillion US dollars by 2030 and increase the intra-African trade by as much as 35 billion per year. Our task during this forum is therefore to discuss these opportunities and to reposition the insurance sector in order to enhance the resilience of our economies. The future of our economies and insurance in particular is associated with disruptions emerging from different areas like urbanization trends, changes in the agricultural sector, population increase, environmental changes, and digitalization of African economies. At the same time, the insurance sector is facing several challenges like low levels of innovative initiatives and suitable products for all segments of the population, low levels of financial education and insurance awareness. Thus, the need to massively educate our people in a bid to drive insurance uptake. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude my remarks, allow me to once again thank the Africa Insurance Organization for having chosen Rwanda as the host of this event. I would like also to extend the government of Rwanda's gratitude to the organizing committee that worked tirelessly to make this forum a success. And to you, our delegates, thank you for coming and taking part in this important landmark in our country. I wish you all a wonderful stay in Rwanda, and I hope that you will get time to visit many of our tourist sites and get to experience our warm hospitality. It is now my honor to declare the 25th African Reinsurance Forum of the African Insurance Organization officially opened, and I wish you fruitful deliberations. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister and our guest of honor. Please, as our esteemed speakers leave the stage, let me ask our cultural troupe to entertain us a little bit once again before we move on to the first session. Thank you very much. Give them another hand of applause. Thank you very much. Let's move to the first session. First, before we get to our presentation, is a short video about Africa Re. Roll the video, please. Thank you.
has been called the orphan of the financial sector in our continent because of our low penetration, because of our size in the GDP, because of many other issues which we know, which we share, all of us. So I will not go into that too much, but we as insurance or reinsurance companies on the continent, how will this impact us? That's what we are going to discuss. So the road is long, and I will never forget one day in Rio de Janeiro, I was in a taxi, and the taximan asked me, you are coming from Africa? I said, yeah, I'm coming from Africa. He said, what language do you speak in Africa? I told him we speak many languages. He said, what? How do you move forward? How do you communicate? I said, that's a big issue. So, of course, Africa has that fragmentation, that cultural diversity, linguistic diversity, size of development, size of the market, and so on and so forth. Those are challenges which are real, which we have to tackle as contributors to this. Next slide, please. So, just focus on 2020. We import 11% from our continent, and we export only 16 to our continent. And we may say that probably those intra-African insurance transactions which are already happening, although it is small today, I can tell you the biggest part is not even insured by Africans. So it is already a challenge right now before we speak about when the AfCFTA will take us to intra-African trade up to 50%. It can be 50% without us as insurance and reinsurance. Let's avoid that. Let's work together so that when we reach at 50%, all of us, we take the biggest share. I was discussing with some members of the executive committee with the Minister of Finance before we joined, and I was giving the example of South Korea, where 85% of their insurance is insured locally with the insurance companies and the reinsurance companies, Korea Re, whom you know. So Korea Re doesn't need even to go out so much because they have so much business from LG, Samsung, Hyundai, Kia, you name it, them, all of them, they all reinsure with their own reinsurers because of the financial sector, how it is intricated, the financial inclusion, the cross-sharing between those big companies. They are the owners of the Korea Re. So no one will come to help them by putting up compulsory sessions, by putting up laws of local content and so on and so on. It happens naturally because it's an ecosystem. So we have to achieve that. We have to achieve that as players in this market. Next slide. So the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning has touched on this. We are moving in the right direction. Many countries are ratifying, many countries have signed, they have deposited their ratification instruments, and we will be there very soon. Others, they are through the system, their political system, parliament, to approve this. Now, if this is become a reality, what next? What is it in it for us? Next. So let's see first the reinsurance industry and insurance industry, how it is for the moment. Of course, some of the figures here, you already know them. So the global industry, global insurance industry is at 3.4 trillion US dollars. And 11% is ceded to reinsurers. And you can see in the North Africa, 5.3 billion insurance and 1.5 billion reinsurance. Africa and Middle East together, so you have South Africa, the biggest market, 10 billion, cession to non-reinsurance, non-life reinsurance industry, 2.8. The rest of Africa, it's in yellow, you can't read it very well. That means that it's even small, 7.1 billion, and ceded reinsurance around 2.6. Now, this picture will evolve with time. And we believe that Africa has a lot of potential, as we have been always saying that low insurance penetration is a blessing, not a curse, because we have a lot of things to do and to grow. Next. So the insurance penetration is still relatively low, we know that. But if you look at the entire continent, 23 billion of US dollars of total premium in insurance, we are growing at 1.6%, that is in US dollars, but we are growing much more faster in our local currencies, in our underlying growth, maybe even before, even more than 10%. Some markets, even during this last year of the COVID-19 pandemic, have grown up to 20%. That's good news. That means that more and more people are taking seriously to use the insurance as a risk management solution. Now, in terms of lines of business, 82% is in motor. Motor is around 39%. I can see some values have disappeared. That's a technological problem of a different format of Windows, probably. And followed by accident and fire, so 82%. So the other specialty lines are rather very small. So we start with the cyber risk, around 25 million US dollars in the entire continent. So cyber risk, as you know, it's one of the lines of business which we all believe that it will grow, but how will it grow? How will it grow if we if we don't have enough IT specialists? Because cyber insurance the insurers must work with the clients to keep them up to date in terms of antiviruses. So in cyber risk, it will be like in other types of viruses. So we need booster, we need third dose, fourth dose. So the same way with the cyber risk. So the insurer must keep working with the insured. If it's a bank, for example, you're insuring a bank against cyber risk, you have to have IT specialists who will be on top of the antiviruses, on top of the techniques to protect companies, and this must be an ongoing engagement. It will not be one contract signed on the 1st of January and we wait until 31st of December to see if a claim has happened or not. So within that year, you have to be discussing with your clients to make sure that they are well protected. Otherwise, you can understand that the risks will be too many to bear. Next. So in terms of African reinsurance, since we are in the African Reinsurance Forum, so the figures are given here. Just to say that 7.7 billion, it's smaller than what is in the Middle East alone. And most of this business, there is a portion which is in the open market. If you remove the compulsory sessions, if you remove what goes to Chinese companies, other multinational companies, if you remove what goes between intra-groups, insurance and insurance intra-group transactions on the continent, so you are remaining with something like 5.7 billion alone. It's not big at all. It's not big at all. That's why reinsurers, we have to work with insurance companies, regulators, ministries of finance, politicians, to grow the market first. Before even we start competing, I used to have a chairman of the board many years back in Africa. He was saying, I dreamed the day when we remove all the REIs, all the Africa REIs, and we have one RE, because that is, I don't know, even Korea RE is even bigger than 5.7. It's around 20 something. So we can remove all the REIs and put them on a platform, on an electronic platform, and we can manage all the risks in the reinsurance in Africa. Absolutely. And we even be better than that. So that's a point of view. Of course, we can disagree, but just to say that we are competing on a very small market. We should rather be working in increasing it. Next. So the trends in our industry are known by most of you. Let's discuss a few of them. I will say that competition is growing, and a lot of markets on the continent, whether primary or insurance markets, are suffering from low profitability, which impacts our ability to grow our capital. And we have said that without capital in this business, you can't really make a big improvement. So we have to handle that. Economic recovery, one of the risks, bigger risk, unfortunately, is beyond our control as reinsurers and insurance companies. It is the rising sovereign debt. So there is a risk that if COVID-19 is not controlled, and if the moratorium on the debt services of our governments and our companies, our countries, sorry, even companies who have borrowed on the international market in US dollars, we will have a shortage of funds to invest in the infrastructure, to invest in other social programs on our continent. Then, as you understand, the pipeline of projects will dry out, and then our premium will reduce. We remain with motor insurance, which is good for premiums, but also not so good for bottom line, as we all know, and medical and others. So That's a big risk, the economic recovery of the continent. Premium rates. So premium rates are hardening at the global stage after many losses with the reinsurers. And we can see that retrocession is becoming more and more expensive. But in some markets on the continent, there is still an issue in terms of market premiums. This is another trend. Regulatory environment, we cite the IFRS 17 accounting standard, which is going to take us a lot of effort, which is going to impact the way we operate. So one of the things I like in the IFRS 17 is that you have to know your margin before you write business. It's very important. I think that will help us even to control our pricing, because you have to tell your board of directors, if you are insurance, CEO or insurance, CEO, that you are going to make a loss on this contract before, at inception. While before we used to charge premium and we wait hoping that nothing will happen, and we tell the shareholders that we are sorry there were so many claims, but this time you have to tell if you have a margin in it or not. So this is a great news, but the implementation of the IFRS 17 is going to be long and difficult. ESG consideration, I think there is a topic which is going to be discussed. We all agree that we have to contribute as insurance and the reinsurance. And even if you don't want to contribute, you are going to be forced in a certain way. We are going to discuss that in another slide. Investment return, low interest rate regime. It's necessary for our economies to grow, but it impacts our investment income. That's a trend which we have to also integrate in our pricing. Digital innovation, InsurTech is there. We're going to discuss this, and the outlook is stable by Moody's and AM Best, but still negative with the S&P. The negative perspective of S&P is based on the issue of remunerating the cost of capital. The cost of capital today is around 6.5% worldwide. Maybe in Africa it could be around 6.5%, it's in US dollars. So on the continent it could be around maybe, let's say 7.5%, which is the average of the Euro bonds which our countries have raised. We have to remunerate that. So if you're operating below 7.5% as a reinsurance companies, year on year you are depleting value. You are not creating value. So that's why S&P believes that it is still the outlook is still negative in the reinsurance industry. Next. So InsurTech, this is a big thing. A lot of discussions are going on if InsurTech is improving the insurance penetration, or if only it's improving our efficiency, or it's giving comfort to users and so on. So this is something to see and to follow. There are many initiatives to watch. Africa Re has been organizing the InsurTech Challenge year on year, and we are now even selecting the best ones. South Africa dominates with the most innovations, and you can see they are distributed in different fields of our value chain: policy and claims management, digital distribution, pricing, product design. And the question is where to be as a reinsurer or an insurance. You have the engagement models. For Africa Re, we have selected to be a mentor. We believe that we are not close to the customer, the primary customer, to be in the pioneer, where you lead the change and by disrupting innovations. However, disruptive innovative solutions which are coming on the continent, we are following them, we are supporting them in different ways, and we are now thinking about creating a fund, an investment fund, which will be supporting those initiatives when they are not competing with our clients. So this is something to follow. And Others are saying that there is a lot of chaos in the insurtech. Everyone is doing something. Everyone is doing something, using different technologies which are going to be obsolete in few years, and so on. So we have to also to think as a continent, to think how to integrate this. If we don't integrate this, we may be down the road after 10 years, 20 years, everyone has multiple solutions in his businesses, in his operations, then nothing is working together with the others. So because the future is about integration of platforms. The future is not everyone creating a niche of clients individually. You remember when the telecom, telecommunication disrupted the telephone industry, it was at time necessary that the regulators or the national the countries integrate the communication between the different platforms. So we may be going in different ways, which may not be a very good strategy. Next. So ESG, let's see it as an opportunity. There will be a lot of investment in green initiatives, and also, as I said, we have to contribute our share in advancing ESG principles. So the environment is a long term. The social is more important to us because it's now. The protection gap, the insurance protection gap, whenever there are floods on the continent, wherever there are political violence, wherever there are droughts, you can be sure that a lot of Africans, families, economies are not insured at all. They are not insured. You just watch the news, what has happened in Sierra Leone, what has happened in Lagos with the violence, what has happened. A lot of people are losing businesses. A lot of people are losing their means of life. And we have to be at the forefront to work with the government, to work with the country so that we can bring the solutions we have to the reality. Next. So, regional integration, we have started long. I remember in the many years I was in the executive committee of the yellow card, and there is a brown card in West Africa, as Europe had their green card and so on. I will start with one of the example. Next. First of all, before we go to the lessons we may learn about the integration of Africa, remember that the AfCFTA, it's the lowest system of integration. We are really at the beginning at a free trade area. We are not yet at the custom unions. We are not yet at the common market. We are not yet at the economic union, like the European Union. We want to be at the political union. So the road is very, very long. So we should not be waiting for that road to be crossed by our politicians. We as insurance and insurance, we can do things which I'm going to discuss with you shortly. So next, and I have been asking myself why they called AfCFTA. It's even difficult to repeat. I thought, why did they put continental in it? Since Africa is a continent, there must be a reason, but I found it a bit longer. Maybe it could have been after, since there is an after North America free trade area. In any case, a trade area agreement, it must be free. So we are at the lowest form of regional integration. So as insurance or insurance, don't wait that to happen, and don't think that will come to help you in next 10 years or 20 years. We are sure about that. Next. But now, what have we been doing? I have just taken 3 examples. One is the ECOWAS brown card. Next, The other one is CIMA zone and Africa Re. Now, the ECOWAS brown card, and we have the yellow card here in COMESA, and SADC may have another one, and so on and so forth. We can say that it has never been a very big success, because cross-borders motorists have created a lot of disruption in families, in businesses, and I remember when I was in an insurance company here, going to, in a country which I will not name, to investigate cases of fraud, which were too many, in the yellow card scheme. So those are things we have to fix, otherwise there will be no integration. And this is the lowest way of integration, to allow our insured to cross the borders and enjoy their policy cover which they have at home without buying another one. Now, think about now when we integrate, let's say, a risk like Rwanda, let's say Rwanda, or this convention center. And if we want this insurance of this building to remain in Africa, to remain in our region, how are we going to do it? So regulators have a big task to work together so that we give each other guarantees that this is a strong security. Next. So the CIMA zone, it's been a success story in terms of regulation, but they also have other things to do. For example, unique license to operate in that big market, and so on. So, however, we can say that harmonization of regulation, it's one step which is necessary. Otherwise, we will not be trusting an insurance which is coming from another country if you don't know that this insurance company will respect its obligation and pay the claims when there is a request to pay. Next. So the other one is Africa Re. I didn't bring it because I'm the group CEO of Africa Re, but it's because when the founding fathers met in 1976, following an initiative of the African Bank, African Development Bank, and the UNCTAD, they were already reinsurance companies. Nigeria Re was there, Egypt Re was there, Kenya Re was there, Société Commerciale de Reinsurance was there, and many others. But these people believe that creating a bigger continental reinsurance company makes sense. It does make sense up to today, and we can say that 44 African member states, Zimbabwe has joined this year in June, so we are also discussing with the other countries, including Namibia, Mozambique, South Africa, so that we can have the full continent, continental different countries together on this platform. So we are happy to have a strong rating compared to the Lloyd's, compared to the Swiss Re, compared to China Re. We are happy to be among the top 40 global insurers. So I believe that this is an initiative to sustain, to protect, to maintain, as those who did it for the same reason we are talking about AfCFTA. Next. So we need to be strong, we need to be big. 1.17 billion US dollars of shareholding funds, it's extremely small. It's extremely small. This is one claim in Europe, just one claim. So this is half of the riots in Durban, the civil unrest in Durban, which are around 2.2 billion. So you understand that we need really to bring together whatever we have to create stronger players if we want to retain business on the continent. So next. So the key lesson for me is that Africa must find its own ways. We cannot copy what Europeans have been doing. They have grown naturally naturally, step by step, over centuries, over many years. They have created an ecosystem, financial inclusion, education, awareness, culture. We are behind. We have to find ways to move quickly. So not common solutions. So here I'm talking to regulators, not the usual things of just doing a little and maintaining prudential safety and so on and so forth. We have to invest a lot in development of the market, and in a way which is benevolent. Otherwise, we'll be talking again in another 50th anniversary of the Reinsurance Forum, will be at the same levels today. And collaboration, that's what I have been talking about. Governance, we have to be strong. We have to be professional. If it was not for professionalism, Africa will be not existing at all. If it was not for strong governance, Africa will not be existing. So this is critical. Now, the digitization, we have today a big opportunity, a huge opportunity of communicating to our clients, bringing together. Information is available today, so what is remaining is to bring that information in a transparent way so that we can trust each other, the insured and the insurers, insurers to reinsurance companies and so on. Next. So next step, what can we do? So I took the example of Afrexim Bank initiative, payment and settlement system. We need that because trading in US dollars has become difficult. It has become difficult in many territories. The premium income we are raising from Ethiopia, for example, cannot be converted in US dollars today. And I'm taking that as an example. There are many other countries, Sudan, Nigeria, and so on and so forth. So now, think about this. When you pay as an insurance company, you pay your premium, reinsurance premium, to Munich Re and Swiss Re. You pay in US dollars, okay, because they don't have a bank account in your country. They don't take your local currency, which is volatile, which is difficult to predict where it will be. But when we pay to Africa Re, or when we pay to Sika Re, or when we pay to Namib Re, to Tunis Re, you pay in your local currency. So if we are talking about integrating the risks and sharing them in Africa, in our regions, then on the continent, we have to discuss about the payment, the settlement, the processing, the clearing among our different currencies. This is very, very important. Then, if this takes form, this is supported by the AfCFTA, by the way. If this takes form, then reinsurance can come on top of it. Then insurance across regions can come on top of this. If this doesn't happen, then forget about what we are talking about. But this can happen without even the politicians to sit down, because it's the industry which may drive it alone. Next. Then, if this happens, then we have a proposal which is called African Reinsurance and Insurance Blockchain Industry Initiative. So this initiative will come, first of all, to reduce all the pains. We know the issues of accounting, problems, reconciliations, fraud, different versions of the truth. You know what I'm talking about. We have had many claims as reinsurers, especially, we know that, and you find that we don't have the same information, and the trust is lost. Now, when we are talking about now integration, when a risk will be generated or insured in Nigeria, and an insurance company in Namibia will reinsure it or co-insure it because it's large for that market, we need a lot of efficiency in processing those transactions. So, late claims notification, data duplication, moral hazard, frictional costs, huge frictional costs, manual operations. All those things can be fixed in one blink of an eye if we work together to bring this platform to the reality. Then I will talk about the regulators, what they can do on top of that platform. Then we'll be doing integration among ourselves. Then business exchange, of course. We can't talk about integration without business exchange. We can't exchange without systems which are efficient in terms of payment, in terms of operations. Next. So the African Reinsurance and Insurance Blockchain Initiatives has been, according to AM Best and Standard & Poor's, is one of the leading in terms of integrating industries today in the world. So this is exactly what the Lloyds are doing in their platform. So this is being developed by B3I. We have a meeting this afternoon from 3 p.m. You are all invited. So B3I is B3I means Blockchain Insurance Industry Initiative, the 3I. So it's a company based in Zurich, belonging to only insurance and reinsurance companies. All the big insurance and reinsurance companies of the world, AXA, Allianz, all of them. It's not even it's not a competition. We came together, all insurance companies, Africa Re also is a shareholder, to create that provider of services who will be providing services to the industry. So it's not a vendor who is selling a software to people so that they can give him money licenses. No, it's an industry initiative. There are so many gains to have, from placement, contract, binding, technical accounting, all the process of our value chain. This is very important because we will see in the next slides what are the gains in terms of frictional costs which are lowered, in terms of operational efficiency. You have heard, for example, a company called Lemonade in New York. So we want to be at the place where if there is a claim and the claim is adjusted somewhere on the continent and a group of co-insurance and reinsurance companies on that risk, the claims can be paid in the night, overnight where we are sleeping. You come in the morning, you have notification that a payment has been done by the leader on your behalf. This is your share. A premium has been paid. This is your share. A business is generated. You propose it to people on the platform and so on. That's the way to go. Banking sector started long before with their payment, the credit card and so on and so forth. We have to be sharing risk in that way. Next. So I will not go into this. It's too many things, but think about 50% reduction in admin costs of insurance and reinsurance companies on those transactions. Think about 50% of the reduction in contract setting up. Think about a system which is triggering all the events in the contract, in the reinsurance contract. We have so many events, cash loss, reinstatement, all those things will be triggered automatically, and the system will be integrated to your own system. Those who have SAP or 6 systems, they are all being developed as protocol of interfaces, because it's an industry initiative. We know what are the system people are using. And even if you have a system which is really not in the mainstream, then there will be interfaces which can be developed so that it integrates immediately in your system. Next. So in conclusion, next. So I believe we need to start discussing this seriously. And here I will say that whenever we call for an industry discussions, you will see that there is always a low attendance. So I think things start by ourselves. So the AfCFTA will never become a reality if we are not serious ourselves. So we have to really give effort, and at the high level, at the highest level, at the CEO levels, when we discuss this matter of integration. Otherwise, it will be just sweet talks and so on. So we need enablers, that the payment system, so that we can exchange in our different currencies. We are unfortunate of having many countries, but that's what we have. So we need strong systems. And the way it will be working, for example, if a Tanzanian insurance is placed on the platform, the rate of exchange will be blocked at that time of transaction, and the exchange rate of the other company in another country will also be blocked at the time of transaction, so that the transaction can happen. Of course, there will be some volatility in between, but at least it's better than transacting in US dollars. You know, transacting in US dollars, you are going through a lot of hurdles, and sometimes in some countries you can't even have a bank account in US dollars. So that is Rio, in South Africa, in Namibia. In many other countries, you are not even allowed to have a US dollar bank account. So we need a system which will enable us. Digital infrastructure, that the sweetener, that what we are doing in Aribi, at least this platform will be there next year. No doubt. It will be now up to us to use it. And if we don't use it, there will be no other else. There will be no one will come to build it ever in the 100 years to come. So we have to join it and try to make it a reality. Now, prudential supervision, very important, trust among different jurisdictions. This is very important. We are thinking about even proposing champions in each country, to have champions like 5 companies. Not all companies can participate in a risk exchange at continental level, because those risks must be big. First of all, it's not motor, it's not a small risk which are already insured locally. We are talking about these big risks which are going outside without being seen by our markets. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much. I hope I've contributed to this reflection, and I'm happy to take questions from the audience. Thank you very much. And I forgot to remove the mask. I hope my voice was clear. Yeah, I can see one hand there.
Good morning, sir. This is Gaurav Matrawala from Maitri, Mauritius. It was a very comprehensive and enlightening presentation. Thank you. If you could go back to slide number 5, which talks about export of services from Africa. There has been a gradual decline since 2015. And we are seeing, Africa overall is developing nicely. The economies are developing nicely, but there has been a gradual decline from 2015 up to 2021. What would possibly be the reason for that?
I think maybe 2 reasons. One, the figures may be in US dollars, and in fact, in US dollars, the African economies have been declining in some parts. Second, it could be, the reason behind is that there are investments in Africa which are creating growth, but not development. And if there are investment on the continent from Total, from Chinese companies, and so on, they may not be insured locally. So you can have a growth, but the intra-trade volume may be lower because those high amount of investment may not be going down in the financial systems of our countries. So those two reasons are behind that decline, and the decline can continue even at a very low level because, look, when you invest 20 billion or 40 billion of oil and energy in Mozambique, how much do you think remains in Mozambique system? Almost zero. Mm-hmm. Almost zero. The capacity to absorb it, but you will show growth, but that growth is not neither inclusive, neither structuring the economies of those countries. So that's another risk.
Okay, no.
Thank you.
One more question. With you mentioning the size of companies in Africa, whether it's reinsurance companies or insurance companies, do you think some government initiatives in terms of increasing minimum capitals would encourage more mergers and acquisitions and consolidation and improve the respective operations in the market?
Definitely. If I had the powers to do that, definitely. We don't need to have weak companies, especially in the insurance, where the trust, the culture to buy insurance is low. We need strong companies which are honoring their promises on time, quickly, and I don't think that multiplication of insurance companies in any market is a good sign. So that is something which we have to think about it. It's very, very important.
Thank you.
I have said that bigger is better, and stronger is even better.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Yes, one hand over there.
Thank you. Is it audible enough? Thank you. I want to thank you for the very rich presentation, Dr. Corneli, that you have just presented. I just have two questions. One is, if you look at the taxation landscape of the continent for the insurance industry, is quite diverse. There are very different tax regimes in various markets, and we have observed a significant dampening effect of the introduction of VAT on insurance services. And this has affected significantly growth of the insurance market in some industries. Now, if I look at the statistics, if we are to benefit from the free trade, the Africa free trade area, as the industry we have to grow by an average of 7%. But with the VATs and all these other forms of new levies that are introduced by governments, there have been a decline of the industry's growth rate in some markets at 1% or even less. Now, what needs to be done so that as the continent, at least we can start to address the issues of taxes that we know the impact? We are arguing about how can we increase penetration. It's the interest of the government, but also the interest of us as players. Now, how do we come together to have a taxation framework in the continent that can take us to that, potential growth of, 88.9 billion as premium? And my second question is, in the issues that you have identified as the priority areas, I did not see capacity building or capability building. Now we know you can have very bright plans, ideas, ambitions, but if your people are not equipped I mean, there is usually you have, the greatest challenge. You don't have, either don't have people at all with the competence that is required, or you don't have enough. So what is your, your thinking around capability, especially, our continent, we really need people, especially in the insurance space. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for those questions. I would say that for the first one, there is a competing needs in any economy. Our economies need to raise revenues through taxation, and insurance transaction is one of the transactions which are happening in the financial system. So they must be taxed. We must be taxed. Income and other types of tax. Now, is VAT impacting the penetration rate? I'm not quite sure. Maybe the size of the rate of the VAT may be an issue, but if the VAT is applied to other transactions, I think it's quite okay. Now, up to the regional economic zones to harmonize the VAT levels, that is something maybe which we are aiming at in different economic zones. So I think that VAT should, of course, not on life transactions, because life transactions have that peculiarity. But I think VAT should be, whether it should be lowered to increase the penetration, I don't believe so, personally. That's one. Of course, when it is implemented suddenly, and it was not there before, because that's what has happened in many markets. It has never been there before. Insurance was forgotten as an industry. One day they say, oh, there is money there. Then they add that VAT. Yes, that has an effect, but that effect may be absorbed by the transactions as demand is growing. The issue of growing demand in insurance is a matter of policy. It's a matter of policy. I strongly believe it. Yes, awareness is something else. You can raise awareness, but awareness is mental thinking. But in reality, financial inclusion means that when you are financially included, you are also adopting some mechanism of risk management. It goes together. It goes together. Then policy in terms of regulation and laws can come on top of that. So that is the only way to do. The Durban civil unrest, they could not be today reimbursed by the government, by the insurance sector. It's the biggest insurance claim ever in the history of South Africa. So insurance companies will pay, reinsurers will pay. I think Hannover Re will pay up to $150 million US, and the capital of that company, which was created by law, not by awareness, it's not by awareness, it's by law 100 years ago. All the capital is wiped out completely, and the government must come and rescue it. So you need to have those mechanisms in place. Not to wait until things happen, then you start saying, oh, we should have done that. No, they must be there. So that's a matter of policy. That's a matter of policy. It's not awareness. You can preach political violence, risk solution, risk management solutions to all the Nigerian. Tope is here. Very few will take it. Very few will take it. It will take you probably 100 years to have 2% who are taking it. So what can we do when we are talking about insurance protection gap? There will be violence. Violence will be on the continent. The CIA is projecting in 2050 huge, massive violence because of inequality, because of social problems, because of unemployment in the youth. There will be violence. Business will be destroyed. So, should we wait for people to wake up themselves and buy insurance? No, we should integrate smart policies together with the government, the banks, and the people to ensure our economies. That's the only way to do it. So the second one is, second question is obvious, capacity. Capacity, I don't know what to do. Maybe College of Insurance can contribute. Countries which are advanced in terms of trainings, in skills and so on, we can say Kenya. I don't know if do you have enough? After 2% levy on premiums, a strong College of Insurance which has been there many, many years, they don't have enough skills. I think they're still putting an effort. What about now countries which are not even doing anything? Anything. So that one is really, really number one priority. Number one priority. We are contributing a very small portion in it in the Young Insurance Professional Program. We are now coming up with a program to train staff of insurance supervision authorities. We know that they are also recruiting new staff, probably not even from the industry. They have to be equipped. So training is really, really number one priority. Yeah. Yeah, maybe last question.
Thank you, Mr. Karekezi. My question is, you talked about protectionist policies by regulators in Africa. Now, against the backdrop of AfCFTA, the challenge is, how do you then manage companies that exist in some African countries that do not have corporate presence, but rather maybe branch offices or agents acting on behalf of larger companies in advanced countries? Because, as you have said, the trade in service agreement as part of the AfCFTA is actually intended to ensure that companies can transact businesses all over Africa. So it is in our interest as Africans to ensure that businesses generated from Africa are actually placed in Africa. But it is not in our interest to have businesses taken out of Africa through proxies and others. So my question is, what and how do you think that aspect of the problem can be resolved? Of course, because if that is not resolved, you are then going to have regulators in all these countries strengthening their protectionist policies and ultimately hinder attainment of the AfCFTA agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think countries which are registered in our different countries, capitalized, regulated by the supervisor, it's fine. Whether they have a name which sounds European or which sounds belonging to another big brand in the world, that's fine, as long as they are here on the continent. That's number one. Number two, there are a lot of insurance risks which are not traced. So we need to bring something like a traceability system of all the risks. All the risks. So our revenue authorities, our regulators must be on top to control those companies, those multinational companies on the continent, whether they are called Rio Tinto or Heineken or MTN or whatever, to make sure that their spending in terms of risk management and insurance is traced. And today with technology, we can trace anything. We can trace anything. Technology is there to help us. So we have to trace, regulators who are here, we have to trace all the transactions in insurance in our continent. We have to enforce disclosure. As we are going to enforce the disclosure of ESG, disclosure of what you are doing, this is about social. The ESG, there is S, social. And empowering African insurers and insurance, it's empowering the social welfare of the Africans. So we have to trace as well that. That's my thinking. We have to trace and impose those risks to be taken on the continent until the continent capacity is exhausted. In fact, it will never be exhausted. We can even force that people come to invest on the continent so that that capital can grow. We have talked about minimum capital. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will hand over to the MC. Thank you.
A big applause for, there you go. That's much better. Thank you, Doctor. All right, so we're running 26 minutes behind time. Let's just get outside. There's a coffee break happening right now. Let's be back in 20 instead of 30 so that we can try and catch up a little bit later. Now, for those who do not have badges, this is very serious. For those who do not have badges, there's a registration desk on your right as you get out of this room. Please get registered, because you won't be able to come back in the room if you do not have the badge. Security will stop you. So please get the badge. Pour ceux qui n'ont pas de badge, il y a juste à votre droite, en sortant de cette salle, allez vous faire enregistrer, s'il vous plaît. Prenez votre badge, parce qu'en revenant après la pause café, vous ne pourrez plus entrer sur ces prémices. Enjoy your coffee break. Let's be back in 20. Thank you.